Hi, I'm Sans.
And I'm Shira,
This is Gift of the Gab.
where we take contemporary issues and look at them through a giving lens. So, Sans, how are you doing today?
Great.
Excited to be here?
Always.
Today, based on some discussions that we've been having in the office, tipping.
Ooh.
Do you tip in restaurants? Do you tip in taxis? What's your tipping MO?
Okay, I'm quite a big fan of tipping in restaurants.
Okay.
Definitely feel that. I have, because of past experience, experienced something that on the other side of it. I actually was a waiter once, many years ago.
You've done like every job in the past. Like
I know.
Accountant, charity.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting. A lot of footfall next to a market, quite a cool, funky restaurant.
What country was this?
In South Africa.
Okay.
And what happened was I'd done a pretty good job. I think I was quite a good waiter. I became quite good. And as I was taking the glass away to clear the table, I bumped it over. Nothing was in the glass. So as I bumped it, it fell over. It didn't break. And then I picked it up and took it off. And I brought the bill, and it was in a little wallet. And when I came back after I'd cleaned a few other tables, they had gone. I opened the thing, and there was a note written saying, "That's because you dropped the glass," and I got 2 cents, which is 2p.
Whoa.
And this is in the 90s. I was so angry. I can't tell you. I ran out holding the wallet, and one of my colleagues ran out after me. He's like, "What happened, bro?" I told him, and I was looking left and right, but there are a lot of people on the street already, and he just said, "Just let it go, bro." Good. And I was like, I was so
But
angry.
you had every right to be angry, because it's one tipping. I think is an opportunity to be kind, we'll have a discussion. Is it an opportunity to be kind?
Right.
But what those people did is they actually used it as an opportunity to be unkind.
Right.
And by tipping you 2 cents, it's better not to give anything.
Yeah, just
say
leave
he's
it.
not worthy of a tip. Whatever they want to say, you would be much less upset.
Yeah, it was just such an insult after they'd sat. I think done the job well. And one silly mistake, which can happen, and I just thought I was cross. Ugh. So I do, in hindsight, like tipping. I think it's a good thing.
Good.
I just found out recently, because my daughter followed in my footsteps and was a waitress, and she was told that they don't get tips; they get an hourly rate, and the service charge goes to the restaurant.
Wait. This is one specific restaurant, but
it's more than one.
That mandatory service charge that we all pay on our bill does not go to the waiter and waitresses?
In many restaurants, they take it. They do not give it.
Waiting staff, sorry?
They do not give it to the waiting staff.
Wow.
I was shocked, and she was also shocked, and it got to a point where and they said to her, if you tell someone, you'll be fired, and if you basically, they ask you, you've got to lie and just say that we give you tips. So eventually
really
she was doing
sad.
some big tables, 300, 400, 500 pound tables, and she just couldn't bring herself. She just told them politely, "I just want you to know I don't get this." And they were pretty shocked, and then gave her the tip and took off the service charge. She subsequently quit because of A-levels, but yeah, it's an interesting thing that I think it's quite strange that, look.
It should be transparent, agreed, as well.
It's got to be very clear to people, look, we're taking for extra charge. I also, did a bit of research about it, and I saw that in some countries, they don't even tip at all. It's not even they don't tip at all. It's actually frowned upon and offensive. In Japan, wow. Apparently, you cannot tip.
Whereas, like in America, have you been to America before?
Yeah, I lived there. So.
Of course. I feel like you tip for everything in the whole world. Everything's a tip, and everyone's waiting for tips all the time.
Yeah, because that's it's a cultural thing, and they've built a bit of an industry, and you get some of your income through the tips.
Yeah.
So
but in Japan, it's the opposite.
Complete opposite.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised at that.
Mad.
So, and then there was another discussion. One of the things to think about is, when we tip, that's for the waiter, the waiting staff. Mm-hmm. Having said that, there's cooks, there's cleaners, there's washers.
Yeah.
They don't really get an opportunity. So they're getting paid what they get paid. And the chef makes the food.
They're probably not. I mean, the dishwasher, person that washes the dishes,
No, they
would get much lower paid and they wouldn't
Probably.
see a tip. But yeah, what they're doing is it's kind of essential for the restaurant.
right. So it's
And
an
that's
interesting. I've heard of pooling the tips, but I don't even know if the pooled tip gets to the back staff, or is it just the waiting staff? That's
I don't know where this came from, and I don't know if anyone does this as well. But like, I took one of my kids to get a haircut, and I know that the etiquette is you tip the person that washed the person's hair, and you tip the hairdresser. But like, where did that come from that you have to tip two separate people? I don't know. I find it really interesting. There's certain things that you just know that's what's expected to do in that situation, and
so I can't say the same. I haven't been in a barber shop or a hairdressing salon for a long time, but I can't remember. Yeah, I've never.
It's always a very awkward moment as well when you have to give the tip and you have to like go over to the person. You're never sure how much.
How much
give.
are you supposed to tip in a barber shop?
I don't even know anymore. It's like depends on the price of the haircut, and it's all a bit awkward.
Okay, I get that.
My question for you is: if you were in a restaurant and you had a waiter who was pretty incompetent but genuinely a nice person, trying hard, but they were really rubbish and every order was mixed up, would you personally say, I'm not going to give you the service charge that was included? Like, I don't want to include it.
It's a great question. Look, I'm trying to think back because we try as date night go out once a week. My wife and I.
It's a good whole podcast in itself.
Okay, it's a chat about date night tips. Excuse the
Tips.
pun. I'm trying to think. Obviously, we've had really bad. Right, I think there's a difference between a bad waiter or a rude waiter.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
sometimes someone's trying. I know I learned on the job the first few weeks. I wasn't as good as once I got into it, started getting a bit of a rhythm, a vibe, get competence. But someone that's just rude, you've come out, you're kind of nearly being, I don't want to say it, but entertained to a degree. There's a certain level in my mind of like, they are representing the restaurant. You've come for a meal, but you're also being taken, given a bit of service. And so, I'm trying to think that do we get, and that's one thing I can say about America. I never had a bad service. They're so good service orientated there.
I wonder if it is that, but that's because of the tipping culture and because they are taking the tips themselves. I don't know, but
I hear that maybe.
I would be a rude waiter if I didn't have to, if I wasn't getting the tips that I was going to get from the club.
Yeah, I guess it becomes a bit of they're earning £8, £9, £10 an hour maybe, and I get that.
And if I know that my tip is not going to be, it's not going to come back to me anyway, why would I care?
Right, I hear that. So it's not a. It's not a simple thing. I think I've probably complained a few times when there's just been really, and often it's not their fault. You order something and the food wasn't good.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. Why blame them that the food wasn't as good as what you wanted?
True.
Why should I not tip them? So I do that. I had another question which was asked to me the other day, which was quite interesting, is that what about very wealthy people that people know are wealthy? They maybe even know that their net worth is Googleable. Is that a word?
Googleable,
yeah. And you know how much they earn. Should they be expected to be giving more than the 10, 12.5 or 15%, whatever it is?
That's a great question.
I think that was a brilliant question to be asked. So what do you think?
Well, I guess it comes down to the bottom line of, is tipping, I'm answering your question with another question in typical Jewish style, is tipping a kind thing to do? Or is it just expected? I see it as more a societal obligation that you should tip. So
you're saying it should be voluntary and we should do it because we're kind.
I mean, that's yeah, I would say that. I would say tips should not be, especially if restaurants are taking it as an extra thing for themselves. It depends on the restaurant.
Okay, but that's a whole different...
I would say, yeah, it should be up to you based on the service you were getting. I think everyone would get better service, number one. And I think people take it more seriously. But also from my side, I would be more invested in wanting to give a better tip if I had a really good experience. In Israel, I don't know if you've seen it, when you get your bill, it says, because that's added on separately, and it says, 0 to 10% fair, or 10% fair, 15% excellent, and like 20% really great. And I felt this pressure.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been to a shop for a few years.
Societal pressure to give 20% every time. Because I was like, I want to be the really great person. I don't just want to be fair.
I think it's such a clever psychology. They got you.
They got me.
They got you.
I was scammed so much in Israel.
Did you mention once you tipped in cabs?
Oh, I tip in taxis.
So weird. I don't think I've ever done that.
But I don't know, is that maybe I've just...
maybe I'm completely wrong.
I just round it up to the nearest like whole-ish number. Like nearest
nice
big
person.
figure. No. It's just I do it outside. That is, I would say, societal. But here's a question. Okay. Because I would tip in every taxi and I would tip in every restaurant. Yet when we get an Uber and it says, how was your thing? How would you rate it? I give 5 stars. Would you like to add a tip? No. And with Deliveroo as well, 5 stars. Would you like to add a tip? No. Do you ever tip?
I've never tipped on either. It's so weird why you're asking that now, and just thinking about it. No, I've never tipped. I don't know why.
Because you don't see the person?
I don't know. Well, I do. I sit with and I used to go downtown quite often and be in the car for 30, 40 minutes. And I actually have a conversation with I make it a point to speak to every Uber driver.
I know, I've been in Ubers with you.
And
so where are you from?
Where are you from? Well, I'm from South Africa originally, and those guys you find common ground, and how do you enjoy life, whatever. But I never thought. I always give 5 stars, or nearly always. I don't think I've given. I can't remember when I haven't. But okay, I've got to think about that.
Anyone listening to this podcast, if you tip your Deliveroo and Uber and we're wrong, let us know in the comments, because it's good to know. It's good.
Yeah, this is something good.
I guess on the discussion we're having, if you were to tip a Deliveroo or Uber, that would be super kind, because we see it as less expected. That would be me going out of my way saying, I want to give that person who I've just had a chat with, and I know that he comes from Uzbekistan or wherever, and he's struggled and he's just bought his car so he can Uber. I would want to give him a tip, because I'd want to, I've had that chat with him. I know him. I'd want to give him that head start in life. So maybe it is a good opportunity to give.
Thanks for the character development training there. Great Musa, as they call it. I've got to think about that. That's something I've got to really think about now, and appreciate that. And I think for all those people out there, think about the next time you're in a restaurant, ask the waiter or waitress if they are getting the tip.
Yeah. Very
important. Because if they're not and they've done a good service, maybe you should take that service charge off and give them the tip themselves.
No, that's super interesting. And one other thing to add, I think, is just with the Jewish hat on. In the story of the Exodus of Egypt, when Moses didn't want to hit the water because the water kept him afloat when he was in the basket.
Right.
You know that story. And when the 10 plagues, he had to hit the water to start the first 3 plagues, or water in the ground. He didn't want to do it because he had gratitude to the water. So an interesting idea is that that rabbis ask, why do we care about the water? The water just floats. Things float naturally.
Right.
Why should we do that? And the answer is that even if it's someone's job to do something for you, even if it's something that's just naturally, that's what it does, there's still an element of gratitude.
Love that.
So to say, it's their job, why should I have to tip them?
Right.
It's not so accurate. People are still doing something for you, regardless of whether it's their job. It's still that they are serving you. It's literally the service industry.
We've got to. I know we're going to wrap this up, but at some point, how far do you take that? Should we be tipping the garbage collectors? Should we be tipping the postal workers?
Do you give them presents at seasonal times?
You're not expected to, and I'm sure many people don't, and we try to.
I think at the very, very least is a recognition of the fact that they are doing you a service.
Interesting.
And they're helping you out.
Okay, great stuff. It's been good chatting.
That is definitely to be continued.
That's for sure. It's been great chatting, as always, and until the next time, keep doing good things.
Gift's mission is to inspire and enable lifelong giving. Subscribe to Gift of the Gab podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And feel free to drop us a note at podcast@jgift.org if you have any comments or any suggestions of what we should be talking about in future. And of course, check us out on social media @Gift Charity for ways to get involved.